Let me just show you how easy it is to merge these 5 photos into this stunning panorama by just using Lightroom Classic. Let's take a look at how to do this. So as you can see, I've already imported my 5 pictures right here, and these are literally panorama pictures which overlay just slightly on top of each other. If you take a look at the last image, for example, at the left side of this image, you can see this very wide tree, and if you take a look at the previous image, you can see that same tree in the previous image as well. And this is because Lightroom will need all this information to be able to merge the 2 photos together, because it will look for similar things in 2 photos and then stitch them together by merging those things on top of each other. Once we have all our photos imported in Lightroom Classic, we can go ahead and select all of them. You can select the first one first, hold Shift, and select the last one, which will select all the series of photos that you have imported. Once you have all these photos selected, you can right click on one of them, select Photo Merge, and click on the Panorama option. Once you click the Panorama option, you will be presented with this Panorama Merge preview, and you have 3 options to select how your photos will be stitched together. Just as a basic understanding of these, the spherical option is ideal to be used for larger panoramas or 360 panoramas. The cylindrical is quite good for panoramas where you have landscapes or seascapes, and the perspective one is one that sort of flattens everything out and is ideally used for architectural photography and building photography. With that said, it's typically up to the user to select whichever they think looks best in their eyes. There's also the boundary warp option, and this literally warps the images in order to fill more of the image. And as you can see, if we move this towards the 100%, let's remove the auto crop right here and see how it will fill up our frame by just warping the image. You can select fill edges, which will automatically fill the edges with something similar. You can also click the auto crop option, which will literally crop your image in order to remove any edges of your images. You can click auto settings as well, which will basically put some auto settings on your image, which looks quite good right here. And you can also create a stack, which will basically create a stack of images on top of each other in your Lightroom catalog to be used as panorama images. However, we'll just leave the auto crop option enabled in this case and click on the merge button. I'm using perspective because my horizon is very straight right here, so I prefer this option to the other options. I'm going to click merge, and once the panorama has been created by Lightroom Classic, you will see the image in front of you in your catalog. As you can see, we have a really nicely stitched up image, and it doesn't look like it has been stitched up at all, and Lightroom did a very good job to stitch them up together without anything showing right here. Once you're here, you can go ahead and edit your photo just as you would with a normal image. There's nothing particularly different with editing panorama images to what you're used to with normal photos. In this case, since the panorama image contains mountains and a lot of trees, I will keep the edit as simple as possible. So immediately I will go ahead and decrease my highlights just slightly. I will increase the shadows to show a bit more information in the trees and the valleys right here. And I will also lower my blacks just slightly to increase some contrast in the image. You can also create a small tone curve right here, the S curve, which will create more contrast by default in the image. What I can see right here is that my sky is a bit overexposed as well as lacking a bit of color, so I will go ahead and immediately create a linear gradient, one that doesn't go too much over my mountains, and I will lower the exposure just slightly. I will increase the contrast, and I will also increase the clarity and dehaze just slightly, and increase saturation right here. We can duplicate this mask and move it to the lower part of the image where our reflection shows in order to reflect the same thing that we're seeing at the top. So we can smoothen it out a bit further. We can play around with the amount in order not to make it too contrasty, and I would think that removing some clarity would create a better effect, as if the lake is even more still than it was when I actually shot the photo. So two little things I would do to this image before actually finalizing it completely is I would use the healing brush tool to remove some distractions in the image, such as these boys right here, and I would also make sure that my horizon is aligned. As you can see, we've straightened it out a bit more and it looks even better now that it is straightened. You can see that the crop isn't perfect right here because we straightened it out, so we need to crop it a bit further in order to avoid seeing the edges of the images. And right here you can see that the edges are fine now, and if we compare the before and after, you can see that we've gone from a very generic panorama to this really beautiful, vibrant, colorful panorama that literally looks like a painting. So I hope that you enjoyed this technique, and I hope that you can find locations such as this where you can shoot really beautiful panoramas. Just make sure to overlap your photos in order to leave room for Lightroom to stitch them together. Please make sure to like and subscribe, and thank you for watching as always.